big Palantir lesson on insider selling, where I walk through how you can tell actually yourself if it's a big deal or not. And Palantir too keeps winning deals, signing on big names to the company, continuing on to this week. So starting with the stock first, it's a very interesting week for Palantir, and some would say the macro was probably a bigger role in the overall price action this week. But regardless, we actually ended up a little flat still, holding above the $30 range, just under $32. And that's to close out the week. But as you've seen over the past weeks, we've crept our way into holding above $30 in the meantime at least, so I'll continue to watch how this plays out. Now let's just get to the insider selling first out of the way, and there were plenty of transactions from multiple insiders and some even from the larger holders like Shyam Sankar, Alex Karp, and Stephen Cohen, where I'll actually walk through how you can see if there's actually a lot of shares to them. Now, in total, looking for the form forwards disclosed, I just quickly typed out their individual transactions and pivoted here to get the per person totals, where this week we had almost $60 million worth of shares offloaded, and this is selling around 1.8 million shares in total. Now, selling the most naturally would be Alex Karp, selling around 975,000 shares, almost a million, for around $31 million. And just focusing on him a little bit, since it's a bigger example here that's more comprehensive, you can see on the Form 4 itself, it has about 6.4 million Class A shares left after he sold. But a very big caveat is that this is not the whole story, and you need to be a little bit careful when you have someone like Karp, whose actual bigger holdings are down below. The huge majority of his ownership is still in the Class B section, where he has around 48.7 million shares left after the conversion that he did, and that's to get those sellable Class A's we saw above. And he also actually has a tranche of 23.6 million shares of RSUs from his 2010 incentive plan, and then another 2.6 million shares of another tranche of RSUs from his 2020 incentive plan. So you really have to look one step further just to figure out the context and know that Alex Karp is sitting on a gold mine still of how many Palantir shares he has. But either way, you can do what you want with this information. Now, for the larger sellers mentioned too, they follow pretty much a similar pattern where they actually converted over their Class B shares to Class A to sell. Stephen Cohen's got around 4.7 million RSUs and 13.1 million Class B left, and Shyam Sankar has around 2.3 million Class B shares. But obviously, they do have some leftover Class A holdings too that they sometimes offload later. Now, with the conversation, it seems like it's the same every time after earnings, and I've accepted, at least personally, as this is part of the norm. At least for the people I care most about on here, and if they aren't offloading too much that it seems alarming, or any unalignment in incentives at least, it seems far from it at least. It's just one of those things where you just need to recognize, in my own self-interest, of course, yeah, it blows getting sell pressure all the time, but in reality, if you were in their shoes, especially if you're basically from the early stage founder times of Palantir, especially like Karp, you definitely deserve some level of liquidation of your stake to free up your own personal stuff, be it taxes, buying something nice, or even just investment diversification, considering the majority of your wealth and income is already going to be tied up with Palantir, and of course the ownership here and the performance of the stock too. So I'm not letting it bother me personally, but I always keep my eyes peeled for a really huge dump of ownership, which is when I would become actually concerned. So it's just the nature of the beast in my opinion, but let me know your thoughts below on the matter too. Now, we've got a huge key hire being announced this week, which was actually in the works for months. But Mike Gallagher, a former congressman from Wisconsin on the Republican side of the aisle, who became most notable actually as of recent around the TikTok ban legislation. Now, you can have whatever opinion you have on the guy and his policies, but he's officially on the Palantir team now as the head of defense, and he is well aware of the beliefs and left-leaning side that Alex Karp has as the CEO, which is actually something he commended about Palantir as an organization, and that's being able to work across the aisle essentially with different viewpoints as long as you can align on the mission of protecting and serving the West. Now, he went on CNBC for a quick interview, and I'd say it was really to get publicity off on the right foot because it's that typical government official going to private sector and probably making a boatload of money. So he really wanted to sell the alignment he has with Palantir and their mission, and even commenting on the current election cycle too, where you can tell he knows how to answer as a politician. Now, for me personally, I just care that he's able to move the dial when it comes to closing deals, making money for the company, and winning contracts with the United States government, especially with the military, since I'm assuming that's the purpose of his job. But even more juicy is if he's able to get our allies on board too and give Palantir a chance there internationally. It's noted in the PR itself the scope of his role is really around the defense business of the US and allied forces. So that's really what caught my attention, and I think will determine if he is a successful hire or not down the line. Then Palantir gets another big price target announcement this week from an analyst from Northland Securities. They started Palantir out at a perform rating, so not outperform, just so you know, but did note that $35 price target based on their expectations for 2024 and 2025 performance. But their thesis essentially comes down to that Palantir is going to be implementable for a lot of enterprises because they don't have to go through an expensive rip out and replace process. Where if you've been following the demos, Palantir is pretty agnostic because it works on a layer that relies on data connections. So whatever cloud infrastructure, on-prem, or even spreadsheets you got, their pipeline builder can tie it together, make it available for the ontology, and you can do your analysis there. Now, they also note too, Palantir is able to help these businesses in key areas that are popping up when it comes to artificial intelligence at different stages. So essentially, they think they are a good infrastructure play to benefit from this AI wave. And they also close out with why they put a $35 price target, but note they are cautious and would be a buyer though if they see a dip in the stock. So it doesn't really sound like they're all in. Like even though they have a $35 price target similar to Dan Ives, the sentiment does feel a little bit more tame. Next, we had a major demo this week posted on Palantir's YouTube channel. It was a 50-minute long demo from Kinder Morgan on their pipeline outage scheduling, which they utilize AIP to help them wrangle and manage this. It's quite detailed, honestly, on the process, and they even host a Q&A session at the end, so check it out when you have a chance. But the importance of this, in my opinion, is that Palantir continues to build their backlog of references and information that prospective as well as current customers can utilize to answer questions or just see how others are using their software. It helps that Kinder Morgan is a big recognizable name in the energy industry and is a $40 billion plus market cap company. So it's not like some other big company can say there aren't other big examples. And, it does give that reputational kind of ethos there where you're going to say, oh, if they can do it, so can I. So in the whole strategy of Palantir, it seems they are attacking this from all angles where if you have questions, you can find an answer. And yes, it may seem like a lot is going on right now with their developer community, AIP cons, AIP boot camps or demos, online and their developer channel. There's a lot of things out there, but really I'd rather have the content made at least where they can get it organized later on and really funnel in the people more efficiently down the line once they get that all set up. But at least there's something out there now. And then unexpected on Friday too, we get a 3-year long deal with an established customer, Sompo. And what's most interesting is that this is actually furthering Palantir's customer base out into South America, out into Brazil. This will be a subsidiary of Sompo Japan, who is the parent company. They are known for their insurance business, but Palantir has built a deep partnership with them that has been worth multiple tens of millions of dollars and seems to be continually expanded with this latest deal. Now, specifically in Brazil, they will be helping out their insurance business with sounding like digitizing their workflows and getting them ready to transition from paper documentation to electronic. But not only that, but getting them up to speed and ensuring their risk assessments are up to date too with the paper documentation once they're set up in Palantir. So honestly, the best part of this deal is hearing something going on in South America and Brazil, where it has been pretty quiet from us. But plus, this is commercial end of their business, so even though less attention is focused here, they're still making big moves with customers that trust them out there and have proven value when using their software. But a busy week again for Palantir with news. What are your thoughts below? And I'll see you in the next video.